Ow, fuck. It's fine. Yes, I'm okay. 9 times out of 10, you will unfortunately do that. You will hurt yourself on the box grater. Some may say when you go in to make this carrot cake, you're going into battle. You're making a commitment to the carrot cake, and you say, I might hurt myself today. So, oh, I am bleeding. It's fine. Excuse me. It's small. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Home Movies. We're making cake. We're making carrot cake. A carrot cake is a beautiful pantry cake because it's not like just flour, butter, egg, sugar, blah, blah, blah. There's like vegetables in it, there's dates. It's like, feels festive, it feels put together, but it's all stuff that I already have mostly in my pantry or like stored what I call cellar temp. So this one is like mostly carrots. When you see the batter, you're gonna be like, that's too many carrots. How is this gonna be a cake? But you'll see. Carrot cake, I want to be, healthy is the wrong word, but I want it to almost feel like you're like being fed something that you could get at like a co-op in 1972. You're in Topanga Canyon, it's full of vegetables. It's not like a big fluffy spongy cake. It's like not where I'm going with this. What else? Oh, the most important part about this cake, which is in the title of the cake, is that it's cold. The coldness of it is like a treat that you get out of the fridge for yourself when you need a little snack. It's, I don't know, it's not bakery, it's snack. It's not fluffy diner cake. It's like dense, rich, fudgy, healthy cake? It's not healthy. I don't know. When people are like, it's healthy, there's a carrot in it. It's not, it's still a cake. It's still made with butter and sugar. So depending on what order these videos come out in, you will start to see a theme emerge from the fog. And the theme is we're making things that are kind of born from the pantry. And when you sort of limit yourself to what you can cook when you find stuff in your pantry, if it's a well-stocked pantry, you're gonna realize that like that's 90% of cooking. So it's not actually that revolutionary, but it is a way that I've been cooking more and more and more. Okay, ready? Everyone's hiding. I always have at least 4 types of sugar in my pantry at all times because with those 4 types of sugar, you can kind of do anything. One of them is sugar on the raw. It is, to me, the best sugar for the outside of a cake that has no frosting. And it's also what I put on top of my pies, my galettes. It gives you crunch and caramelization. That's sort of in a class on its own. And the rest are sort of like the big 3 sugar. I don't think anyone calls it that. One is powdered sugar. This is what you're gonna use often for your icings and your frostings. It's also a really good ingredient to have in shortbread. Light brown sugar is an awesome ingredient in a lot of cakes because it gives a tenderness. It's also considered an acidic ingredient, meaning it is helping the baking soda or any other leavening activate in that cake recipe. And then the old standby granulated sugar. I use granulated sugar more than any of these other sugars for my pie fillings, my tart fillings, my crusts, my cakes, my cookies, my everythings. Honorable mention, we have honey, we have maple syrup. There are a myriad of ways to incorporate both of these into your baking to cut back on things like granulated sugar. All my cake pans are so old. It's like the oldie cake pan. It's like, they don't even have a measurement. I don't update my things. It's just the way I live my life.
Eric, if you want to actually get with the real camera, just like kitchen B-roll.
I can definitely get some of that.
We interrupt this episode of Home Movies to bring you a thank you from our sponsor this week, BetterHelp. I love therapy. I will talk about it to anybody that will listen. I feel like everybody should be in therapy. My biggest piece of advice that I was ever given is to go to therapy or seek out therapy like before things get bad, either for you or for your partner or with your partner or with your family. The stigma of therapy is dated. The stigma of therapy belongs in Mad Men. You know, we've moved past that. I think having a therapist is evolved. So if you're new to therapy or you're therapy curious, I recommend going to BetterHelp.com and they will pair you with a licensed therapist. There are so many types of people in the world, which means there are so many types of therapists. And if you haven't found yours yet, they're just, what is it? Like a stranger as a friend you haven't met yet or something? It's like that with therapy. And for a special discount on your first month, you can go to BetterHelp.com/Alison and get a little discount on your first month, which every bit helps. And the other nice thing about this service is that you can do it from your home. I take my therapy at home. My therapist lives in LA. I live in New York. We do it on Zoom. It's great. It's a wonderful arrangement, and this is no different than that. It's very chic to have a therapist. I believe in it, and I think you should too. Every time I've ever done anything with fire, people are like, do you know who Frances Mallman is? I'm like, yeah. Nice. All right, so we're making carrot cake. We're making carrot cake without a mixer. We're making carrot cake in a cake pan. I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350. So I'm gonna start like I do with every baking recipe, preheat the oven, and then sort of measure out all my ingredients. I don't cook this way, but I do bake this way. Okay, so 180 grams of flour. I'm using all-purpose flour, not cake flour. If you've seen me bake before, you might know that I have sort of had it with the cups and the teaspoons and the measuring cups. So I do think that for the greatest chance of success, you should get a scale. It's like $20, if that. I'm sure there's ones that are cheaper, and I've had mine for a million years, approximately, and it kind of ensures that there's like less user error, I think. So if you're serious about baking or baking curious, maybe curious about becoming a serious baker, I highly recommend it. But for like really precise, tiny measurements, I do think it's okay to use measuring spoons. But the measuring cups, I don't want them. Get them out of here. So in this bowl, I'm gonna measure flour, which I already did. I'm gonna measure ground cinnamon.
Are the paper towels in my shot not gonna mess up continuity for no.
Fluffy Boy 69 is gonna be like, that toilet paper roll was in the wrong place. Yeah, people say the craziest shit on YouTube. It's by far the worst corner of the internet. Not the people who watch the show, you're the best. But everyone else, crazy. I keep looking at my phone. This is like when you go to karaoke and you're like, I know the words, and you can't not look at the screen. You're like, I know this song. Why am I looking at the words on the screen? These are all 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon. And I keep looking. It's like, I know what it is. It's not a complicated recipe, but I get nervous. You scare me. A lot of carrot cake recipes don't have baking powder and baking soda. I like to use both because baking soda needs an acid to activate, and light brown sugar is actually an acid. So that's why that's there, and baking powder is there for additional lift. Because again, once you see how many carrots are in this cake, you're gonna be like, that's too dense to be a cake. That's never gonna rise. That's gonna be like a brick. It's not, because of all the leavening we're using, in addition to eggs, which are also a leavener. The turmeric is optional, but I do think that with a cake like this, A, it goes really well with cinnamon, B, it goes really well with carrots, and C, it makes the color just like a nice, delicious, like vibrant orange. I don't believe in sifting, especially not for a cake as unfussy as this. This is like, you can make this in your sleep. But whisking will sort of get rid of any egregious lumps, especially in a product like baking soda, which has a tendency to get clumpy. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. When I'm baking, I like to do a large bowl of which the other ingredients get added to. But again, measuring out light brown sugar is also perilous. Are you packing it? Are you lightly packing it? Is it old? It's a lot of room for error. So in addition to our light brown sugar, this yogurt is gonna give you a lot of acid in the cake, which is helpful for our baking soda, which is in our dry ingredients. These are beautiful eggs. I mean, can you even? Just everybody punch in. Every recipe I do is large eggs. It will make a huge difference in the outcome of your baked good if you are not using a large egg, because a large egg should weigh 50 grams. 30 grams for the white, 20 grams for the yolk. A small egg can weigh as little as 30 grams. So that's like actually quite a bit of protein, of water, of like everything that you'd be missing out on if you weren't actually using the proper size egg. Sometimes people will ask me, they'll say, can I use a mixer? And I'm thinking, if I'm giving you the out, why would you opt for the mixer? And that's like not to shame anyone, I'm genuinely curious, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm making this in a bowl without a mixer. I don't want anyone to think that I'm making this in a bowl without a mixer because I'm like giving you a shortcut. This is just the best way to make this cake. Like, there's no need for a mixer here. All right. So now comes time. Oh, actually I'm gonna melt the butter. And the reason I like butter in this is because it does sort of contribute to the end, like fudgy texture. Who cares? Great. Okay, I'm just gonna melt that butter. To recap, eggs, yogurt, light brown sugar in this bowl, flour, cinnamon, baking soda, baking powder, kosher salt, turmeric in this bowl. Both are set aside. And now we're gonna do our dates and our carrots. Dates in this cake give it like a chewy caramel sticky toffee pudding energy that frankly a raisin could literally never. I think a raisin is a bad surprise. I think a raisin is not even something people like, but they're just so used to having it in their food that like, they're like, I guess I put raisins in this. Ask yourself why. What are they really doing for you? Not a ton. 10 to 12 dates that I'm going to pit and then chop, and then carrots. I'm not gonna peel these carrots. If you see any sort of like egregious like little brown spots, you can cut them away. But I don't peel my carrots like really for any reason, unless in this book I do say to peel them. And I fucking do, don't I? Fuck. I wrote this book 2 years ago. Maybe 2 years ago I was peeling carrots and now I don't. Wow, I'm fired. I don't wanna peel them. I'm not gonna. You can peel your carrots if you want. I think that the moral of the story for this episode and every episode in life moving forward is that we should really feel empowered to update our own perspectives as often as we see fit. What if I was like, we're gonna bake this carrot cake in the wood oven? And if you don't have a wood oven, I can't help you. Just kidding, I would never do that. Thank you. Okay, the weirdest part about this whole, it's like always has been, is that like you say something that is like funny to you and no one laughs, but it's not because you're not funny, it's because you're not supposed to hear it. This isn't like a live studio audience. Anyway, it's humbling. I'm gonna finish grating this carrot. All right, my carrots are grated. What a feat. And now I'm gonna pit my dates. Dates are annoying to pit, they're annoying to chop. But the reasons that they're annoying to chop, because they're sticky, is also why they're great. So you sort of have to just take the good with the bad there. I'm sorry to tell you. If pitting and chopping dates is the most annoying thing to happen to you all day, then I want what you're having. If you wanna like grease up your knife, if you thought me grating the carrot was dangerous, I'm literally caressing a blade of a knife. I can't believe I'm recommending anybody do this, frankly. But it does sort of make the date chopping experience pretty effortless. And when you try it at home and you're like, wow, she was right. A, you're welcome, but B, if you cut yourself, I am sorry. So this is our carrot cake. We have melted butter, we have our dry ingredients, we have our wet ingredients, we have our carrots, we have our dates. I'm using regular nonstick spray. If you want to use melted butter or vegetable oil or olive oil, you could do that too. I'm gonna line this with parchment. You take it feels like I'm about to do a trick. You fold it in half, like so, and then you fold it in half again. Do we see? I feel like I'm at a children's birthday party right now. Take the corner, and you fold it, and you fold it, and then basically you measure from the internal point of the circle, the radius. And then you basically take it from there and you trim anything you don't need. Then you open it up. Oh my God, someone called Pinterest. And you have a cool cake pan. I am going to have to get a bigger bowl to mix these, but good news, we're gonna see an old friend. I know you thought we were tired, old Yellow Bowl, but Yellow Bowl has just been hiding. Yellow Bowl's been elsewhere. Yellow Bowl has been hiking, getting 8 hours of sleep a night, and just getting away from the hustle and bustle. But Yellow Bowl's back, so I'm adding the dry ingredients to the big Yellow Bowl. And I'm gonna add this wet mishigas here to my dry ingredients. So I'm just gonna fold this together. I like to think of this as like carrots sort of vaguely held together with eggs and flour rather than a cake that has a bunch of carrots in it. And I'm gonna add butter and also a 1/4 cup of oil. And you can use neutral oil, coconut oil, vegetable oil, olive oil. And as I mentioned, this is a pretty dense cake. It's not like a yellow cake that has a tendency to like bubble up and like puff, and you kind of have to make sure there's plenty of room at the cake pan, but it is gonna not read dense when you eat it. So this cake's gonna go into a 350-degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes, non-convection. Check your cake as it's baking. Cool. So we'll see you in 40 to 45 minutes. I'm gonna clean up. Is that okay that it's getting wet, that thing?
The tripod?
No, that little red thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
maybe not.
I was like, seems important. And the carrot cake is ready. It's been about 40 minutes. It looks gorge. You see that it did puff up considerably, but it's not like an overflowy style cake. You're gonna let it cool to room temperature, which could take about an hour, maybe 2, and then we're gonna frost it. Don't ever frost a warm cake, it'll just melt. And then we're gonna chill it. To finish cooling, I'm gonna take off the parchment and I'm gonna just put it on this wire rack. I do have a vanilla frosting that has cream cheese in it that you do use a mixer for, and that would also be delicious in this cake. But I thought, well, if I'm telling you that you don't need a mixer for the cake, why would I ask you to have a mixer for the frosting? And it's like not light, fluffy, creamy. It's rich, dense, luscious, amazing. If you're still wondering what powdered sugar is, it's sugar ground 10 times as fine as regular granulated sugar. And that's why in like a professional kitchen, you might call it 10x, which is very the bear. It's very like, fine, give me the 10x, which I've never heard them say, but. A little pinch of salt. This to me is the frosting that you want for a cake like this, where it's just like one beautiful thin layer on top of a 1-layer cake. It's thicker, it's not as fluffy, it's dense. There are no nuts in the cake, but there are nuts on the cake. Because, do you know what happens when you put a nut in a cake? The nut, which is crunchy and toasty and delicious, becomes soft and wet and soggy and disgusting to me. I think a cake with nuts is no cake for me. Get your raisins, get your canned pineapple, get your nuts, and get them out of my carrot cake. But a toasted pistachio on top of a frosted carrot cake, that is delicious. That is crunchy, it's nutty, it's perfect. All right, oil your knives, everyone. New kitchen, new home movies, we're oiling our knives for no reason. And that's that. I like a good mix of small and coarse. This does not have to be perfect. Once it is completely cooled, you take your frosting, and I just use a spoon. Sometimes I just like find myself doing this for a really long time because it's fun and it feels soothing, but you definitely don't need to spend this much time on it. We are gonna cover it with pistachio. Transfer it to a plate or sheet tray or whatever fit in your fridge, and pop it in the fridge. Cool. Great. And because we have other things to do, we're gonna eat that in the morning for breakfast. It's not breakfast, it's a cake. And again, I don't subscribe to the like, cake is breakfast, it's health. It's not, it's cake. And it doesn't mean that you can't have some for breakfast. So we'll see you in the morning.
Trying to get Leonard to come out through that door.
Oh, there he is.
That's great.
Sorry, you're looking on camera.
He's so handsome.
You want to
Yeah, we're
grab
going
the cake? Yeah. Okay, carrot cake, take a look.
Carrot cake, take 5 million. I'm walking in. She's walking. Okay. Okay. As advertised, the carrot cake is now cold. If you decide to cut into this and say, it's too cold, I don't like cold cake for whatever reason, just know that you can also bring this back to room temperature. It's not like the point of no return where once it's cold, it can't be uncold again. It is gorgeous and dense and full of dates and carrots.
Would you eat this at your dad? I'm like, is there somewhere you want to eat this?
My dad's house?
At your dad's house. Is that your desk?
People ask me, I'm going to a friend's house, I'm going to a thing, I'm going to a baby shower, I'm going to a picnic, like what can I bring? By virtue of the fact that this cake is like dense, compact, and chilled, it's an excellent traveler and a really good candidate for like bringing to a place.
The light and kind of tape that to the back of the stand.
Unbelievable.
I'll have some, yeah.
I'll feed you, Alex. Okay. Wow. Genuine reaction.
There's something psychological about it being cold, it feeling like an extra special treat. Like I'm like sneaking something from the fridge that I made and put away, and then I'm like coming back to. It feels like a little naughty in a nice way.
Carrot cake. It's like not too sweet.